The secret healer invited me, the spirit of frankincense, the Queen of Sheba, into the shed. Fine writer she may be, cleaner she's not. Look what she left me as a gift. Frankincense. Beautiful, but not my Hojari from Fasus from Oman. This is Pereriana. Beautiful. Nevertheless, from Somaliland. Shalaki, they call it in Sanskrit. Food of the gods. Lebona to the Hebrews. Frankincense to the Romans. Frank, free and abundant. Incense, to kindle. But to me, to the Arab world, olibanum, luban, milk. Do you know it's mentioned 140 times in the Bible? Only myrrh is mentioned more often. Of course, famously, it was bought as a gift to the Christ child. I wonder if the Magi were referring to the prophecy in Micah that the Saviour of Israel would come from the town of Bethlehem. Beautiful. In 950 BC, I ruled all of the frankincense fruits from my centre in Sumraham, about 18 miles away from where the trees grow in the Dhofar. And it's a very foggy area and it stifles the trees, so they grow slowly. And there they bring the most beautiful of all the incenses. And in 1000 BC, Sumraham was the greatest city in southeast Arabia. And from there, I controlled the frankincense from the Dhofar and the myrrh from the Yemen. I welcomed ships from India, from China, bringing silks and spices. And Sumraham sat about halfway between Rome and India. No accident. We were guarded by a beautiful natural harbour. Look at all my frankincense amber going, falling off. We were guarded by a natural harbour which protected us from traders and bandits. For bandits are the curse of frankincense. There's a saying that there are two types of Arabs. Those that work, those that try to take it. I was always aware they were going to, but in the Dhofar, in the trees, you can read how Pliny says, once the incision has been made in the bark, nobody takes his neighbour's incense from the tree. And this was wonderful, but later I'll tell you how that was our downfall. Sumraham was a thriving metropolis. We had many residences, lots of storage for the beautiful frankincense, and the temple in the corner was devoted to the moon god Sin, who overlooked our beautiful incense. And the frankincense trail zigzagged right across Arabia on the trail that I had arranged and agreed with King Solomon. And this was one of my better decisions, a strategic masterpiece on my part, for he was a wise man and a rich man, but easily bought with the charms of a pretty lady. I didn't wear my snakes that day. Between us, we agreed the route that would go backwards and forwards between watering holes and caravanserai. Caravanserai are inns that were put every 25 miles between the posts for watering, amusement and food. More importantly for me, for levies. Every time the caravan stopped somewhere, a levy had to be paid to the priests who were guarding the town, to the escorts who would take you through the narrows between the caves, to the customs officials, to the market traders, to the merchants themselves. Everywhere carried a levy. You may call it protection racket. I call it monopoly. The worst, though, the worst of all the levies didn't come to me. The Romans, they knew what to do. As soon as we reached a customs official, they would tax me and tax me and tax me on frankincense, on corpses that we could not bury. Slaves tried to take a slave into Rome and they free them. Oh. Romans, but they were a necessary evil. Annually, they literally spent £1.28 billion on frankincense with me. How much do you think I spent back with them? Nothing. Not a penny. So our caravans were my pride and joy. I had been summoned to see King Solomon when a hoopoe bird had told him he'd been to Arabia, Felix, and seen my beauty and my wealth. And so he wanted to make an agreement. So we hashed it out. And like I say, he liked so many women. And he gave me everything I pleased, everything I desired. And according to the scriptures, I left satisfied. Now, between you and I, that press release must have been written by him. Satisfied. I've had better. I've had worse. But we sorted out our route. And it was worthwhile doing because, you know, King Solomon, through his 39 years on the throne, amassed 666 tons of gold. He had previously been to Ophir. Have you heard of Ophir? Maybe somewhere in India. They don't know today. I saw it. The walls in Ophir were made of gold and ivory and precious stones. And Solomon went there and he saw the greatness. And then when he came back, he said to his servants, every day on my birthday, throughout my reign, I require gold, sandalwood, silver, pearls, apes, peacocks. And they did. 666 tons of gold. No wonder he wanted my frankincense. I'll give him a little bit. The Jews, the Hebrews, Christians, Muslims, all have enjoyed frankincense fragrance through the ages. The ancient Greeks loved us so much, they called us eudaimon, Arabia eudaimon, Arabia of the blessed, referring to our aromaticos, our beautiful fragrances. And you know, in the early days, in my home of Oman, nothing grew. Some fragrant plants, but nothing to feed enough animals. And if we tried to plant any vegetation, the sun was so fierce. Nothing grew. But here's the mystery: in the heat, fragrant plants thrive. Their molecules increase and develop and become magnificent. and people all over the world wanted to enjoy this magnificence. And so, when we had nothing to trade, we had something. But here's the beauty of frankincense. Where Rome wanted frankincense, they also wanted elephants. Put an elephant out to sea in a boat. Pirates will sink the boat. See how small it is? See how light? It's like a seed. I could put so much onto a caravan. The caravans. Sometimes we had as few as 500 camels. Sometimes, in the highlight, 12,000 camels moving across the desert like a moving city of animals. And we would walk by early dawn, by the morning star, until the sun came up. And then we would put all our tents up and sleep through the lunchtime, eating dates and beautiful fragrances from the place I described as Arabia Felix. Arabia Felix. Cinnamon, saffron from crocuses, sweet fennel, leeks. Arabia Felix had it all. And the Romans wanted it all. And I feared that they may come looking for it all. So I created a mystery. I told them of this beautiful place that we were from, Arabia Felix. And they all wanted to know where it was. What they didn't understand was when we transported the frankincense, we didn't take as long getting there as it seemed we did. For what we would do was set off from Israel, take the camels up to Israel, and then glide on the winds of the monsoon, which would carry us faster and further. So actually we were way further away than they ever thought. Then we would do the same. So we would leave in June in the heat when it was too hot to do anything in Oman. We'd sail on the beautiful, beautiful soft breeze. We'd arrive in the Mediterranean in September and take their cash. In September. Then we would be able to leave and be back in time to have a rest in February, ready to start harvesting again in April. The camels. I loved the camels. You know, you couldn't do it without a camel. They have great big feet that go great big eyelashes, great big eyebrows that mop out the sand. And you know, this was the funny thing. We would load up the camels, and a camel, as soon as you put something on its back, it starts going grumbling. And it grumbles and grumbles and grumbles until you've put too much on its back, and then it goes quiet. And a good camel leader will say, enough. That camel has what it wants to carry. And it can walk for 15 days without water. And here's the thing, to load up a camel. You can carry 200 pounds on a camel. 200 pounds of frankincense, but no. A lot of that has to be water for the humans. And so the caravanserai were strategic points to re-water and change my blessed camels. I loved them. I loved them. And so we would go to Rome. But eventually it had to come to an end, didn't it? Rome Alexander. AD 24, he decided to send out a platoon to try to find us. He looked for Arabia Felix, a mirage in the desert, in Arub al-Khali. 250,000 square miles of desert. Roman soldiers don't last long. But then disaster struck. Theophrastus describes how sailors had told him that they had been sailing by and had to stop at Oman for water. What did they find when they came ashore? Unattended trees dripping incense, frankincense, that Rome paid billions of pounds for. Left it unattended. And so the power, I could feel it slipping from my fingers. And then the strangest thing happened. A meteorite, it's thought, struck one of the outposts along the trail. Everything fell into a sinkhole. The trail was no longer fluid, and it had to come to an end. But of course, frankincense, my beautiful, beautiful frankincense, still fascinates people, still illuminates the prayer. It's a bridge between the celestial and the physical. Beautiful, beautiful. Mostly, it comes from Somaliland. Kartiri, Somaliland. Because what exists from where the original frankincense comes is war. One of the largest importers of frankincense at the time of the Queen of Sheba's reign was the temple of Bel, or Baal, 1,000 tons a year. And the temple of Baal existed until 2015, when it was blown up by ISIS. It's a very sad day. And I must explain my snakes. For frankincense trees are surrounded by poisonous snakes. And if you listen to Strabo or Pliny, they talk about how flying snakes used to protect the trees. Now, one of the texts talks about how they were the same snakes that used to plague Egypt. And in Tutankhamun's tomb, there was found a beautiful neck collar of a flying snake. Who knows? Who knows? But in the days of Sheba, she didn't have trains. In the days of Sheba, sacred families would care for the trees. It was their job to make the incisions, and they knew exactly where to place the incisions, how deeply to place them, and where exactly and what time of year to do it, and when the tree was ready to milk. They would sing incantations, sacred frankincense songs, and light the frankincense and wave it around the tree to purify it, to appease the snakes, to appease the spirits that lived within the tree. For I am in agreement with the Bedou that only something so supernatural could exist in the heat that it does. Beautiful, beautiful frankincense. But now, it's thought that in 50 years' time, 90% of the frankincense will have gone. climate change, over-harvesting, particularly for essential oils. But in the 1960s, the areas were split up and sold off, no longer belonging to sacred families who knew the rules. And so now, immigrant harvesters plunge the knife too deeply. They milk too much. And where a tree should be incised 12 times in a year, 120 incisions are now made. A tree is not ready to give resin until between about 8 to 10 years. When an incision's made, it bleeds. Of course, it's a resin as an antiseptic to heal the tree, to stop it from being open in these times. And it takes around about 2 to 3 weeks for the drops to come out and harden. Here's the thing. The first drops are no use at all. So we clean off the wound and incise it again. Leave it. Clean it. These are useful. But the third ones are magical and beautiful and have rich terpenes and sesquiterpenes, and these are the finest. People steal them now. Traders come in, say to their merchants, let me take this on loan, take it to a dealer and show them. They never get paid. It's yours and my responsibility to buy fair traded. Look, find out. Does your dealer know where it came from? Do they know its Latin name? Can they tell you where it came from? It's important to know. 2,000 years of history is nothing. People have loved and desired frankincense for at least 5,500 years and have been ready to die for it. Make sure you don't kill that tree. So why is it so important? Well, many reasons. Bedouin ladies, when they're pregnant, chew the gum because they hope that it will encourage their child to have a spiritually and intellectually elevated life. It's beautiful for the lungs. It's anti-inflammatory. Most importantly, it slows the breath. It's very good at being able to ground the body. So, if you feel yourself, I can't get used to blonde hair. If you feel yourself spinning out of control, most importantly, close the eyes. Take a breath in, and that breath in is the one that brings you back to yourself. And know that those thoughts that tick, 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 backwards and forwards, squabbling with themselves, know that they are not you. They are neurotransmitters firing, nothing more. So close your eyes and say, hello. And that echo in your mind with nothing but that hello, that's me. That's frankincense talking to you. The part of you that nobody else knows but you. The true essence of you. Perhaps it's God. Certainly it's divine. Frankincense slows the breath in and out. Have you seen these strange cards that the secret healer has? I gave her a poem. It's called Safeguard. Deep in your psyche, you know me. In reverence, fall on your knees. For I am the maker of sacred space, the bringer of comfort and peace. Since time began, I have consecrated meditation. I've mediated conversation with God. For the days when no words can cut it, my fragrance lifts thoughts up in silent song. Perhaps around corners lurk dragons, and horrors torture your brain. No, my resin is grown to bring silence and tranquility from terror and pain. As you relax into my aroma, as your breath slows and expands, your mind becomes soft and much quieter, and sanctity rests in my hands. It's blessed, a blessed, blessed resin. And it vibrates, of course, on the crown chakra. If you haven't got snakes like I have, this is your connection to God, to cosmos, to collective consciousness, universal love. It's ruled by earth, the time of abundance, but also by metal, the grief of letting go. Most importantly, it's ruled by the planet Sagittarius. Expansion, spirituality, quest to understand truth, silent prayer. Beautiful. It's justice, it's noble truths, it's culture, education, quiet, happy, uplifted, searching for destiny on the next star. So, welcome to my world. Enjoy frankincense. And as the tongue of the trees cards tell you, nurture the heart, free the mind, restore the body.